What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Big O, back again with another vid. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you for tuning in. As always, go ahead and smash that like button. Definitely subscribe so you don't miss anything. And today, I wanted to sort of start kind of a little series, sort of based on what is it that you need and what are the things that you should have in order to keep turtles properly. And this first video, we're going to focus on the absolute necessities, the things that you basically cannot go without, if you want to be a successful turtle keeper. And for me, I think these things can be basically summed up in about 5 words. And those 5 words are enclosure, heating, lighting, basking, and filtration. Oh, and by the way, what we're looking at now, this is my 75-gallon tank with my female Pacific Coast Mexican musk. Whenever I'm recording and I'm kind of just talking, I like to, kind of give the viewer something to watch. And since she's definitely my most active animal, and she kind of goes nuts when I'm in front of the tank, I like to point the camera at her. But anyway. Yeah, first one, enclosure. That is that's pretty self-explanatory, and I guess the only point I would want to make about your enclosure, or when you decide on what enclosure you want to get, is make sure that the animal that you will be housing in that enclosure is going to be comfortable in that enclosure. Make sure that they have enough space. Make sure that even if you're going to get a hatchling, you might want to start with something that's already big, so that way in the long run you'll save money. What I do, or what I have done, whenever I get a hatchling, I start them in like a small plastic tub, plastic container. You can get those pretty much anywhere nowadays for very cheap. And once they get a little size on them, and I can see that they can handle some deep water, I go ahead and move them into the tank that they're going to be living in permanently. And assuming that this girl doesn't get much bigger, which I'm not really expecting her to. I just measured her yesterday. She's just under 6 inches, just to give you an idea. So you got a turtle that's about 6 inches. This is a straight carapace length, by the way, in a 75-gallon tank filled to the top. And as you can see, she has plenty of room. So this might be, this size tank might be just what I need for her. I wouldn't mind going bigger, but for right now, I think this is doing just fine. So yeah, just make sure whatever enclosure you get, whatever type of enclosure you get, be it some kind of little kiddie pool or tank or tub or stock tank or whatever you're going to put them in, make sure they're going to have enough room as adults. The second thing, filtration. If you look right here on the side of this tank, you notice my Aqua Clear 110. And if you're going to go with a power filter, or AKA hang on back filter, this is the one that I would recommend. Like, if you're going to get a power filter, get the Aqua Clear 110. It's really the clear choice, in my opinion. And for me, there's just no better option that I'm aware of. I've had tremendous success. These filters are great. They're powerful. For what you're spending for them. They're well known. They have a good reputation. They've been around forever, and they last a very long time. I did have a canister filter on this tank as well, but unfortunately, that canister filter is no longer with us. It was a XPXL or XP4, whatever you want to call it, by Rena. I think it's the name brand. And those 2 filters on this tank worked marvelously. This filter is doing okay. All I gotta do is make sure I clean it out a little more often. But I'll definitely be adding another filter to this tank, preferably another XPXL. You want to make sure that, say as an example, you have a tank that is 75 gallons, and this particular filter here is rated for 100 gallons, give or take. What you got to keep in mind is that these ratings are for fish, not for turtles. Turtles are incredibly messy. So you want to get something that's at least, in my opinion, at least triple what the rating is for the filter. So if you have a 50-gallon tank, get enough filtration to filter something that would be 150 gallons. Turtles are incredibly dirty. Incredibly messy. They pretty much use the bathroom right after they eat most of the time. And if you want to keep a turtle happy and healthy, you definitely need clean water. So get strong filtration or get multiple filters on your tank. Do whatever you need to do to keep the water clean. Next thing would be lighting. And I guess lighting and heating can kind of go almost in the same category. We'll start over here with this one. That hood there houses basically just a regular low wattage bulb, household type of bulb. It's really low wattage. It's probably as low as you can probably get. And I just use it to add a little more light to the tank. This tank is in my living room, so I just want it to look as nice as possible. The next one, this next black hood right here, this houses my compact fluorescent UVB bulb. Turtles need the UVB. Turtles need the UVB. Turtles need the UVB. There's just no arguing that at all. It's one of the most important things you need. So make sure you provide it for them. It's a tremendous help for their health, and it's just something that you just can't go without if you want to keep your turtle healthy and happy and live a long, prosperous life. The next one, this silver dome that I have back here, this is housing my it's a little hot, I don't want to touch it too much, but it's housing a 100-watt heat bulb. I think it's Power Sun, if I'm not mistaken, by Zoomed. The one thing about whatever fixture you're going to use, whatever dome you're going to use to house your heat bulbs, it doesn't matter whether it comes from a Reptile specific brand, it doesn't matter whether you get it at the hardware store or wherever you get it from. One thing that does matter is this piece right here. This piece, as you can see, is like a white color. It's made out of a ceramic. In order to house the heat bulb properly and to not have any problems and to minimize your risk of fire or anything like that, you have to make sure that when you put your heat bulb in the dome, that this piece here is made out of ceramic, because that's what's going to be able to stand up against the high heat, the high temperatures that the bulb is going to emit. Sometimes you notice that there are domes that have sort of this piece made out of plastic. Usually it's black. Do not ever use a heat bulb on a plastic lamp. It's just not going to work out. The plastic will probably melt, and you can create all sorts of problems for yourself that way. So this is the particular setup that I use. I use one UVB bulb, one heat bulb. Now, you have different options. You can get yourself a mercury vapor bulb, and that's going to have your UVB and your heat in one bulb. It all depends on what your preference is. It all depends on how much money you're trying to spend, because mercury vapor bulbs tend to be very expensive. We're talking probably $35 and up for one bulb. And a lot of times they can be very sensitive. And I personally have not had very good luck with mercury vapor bulbs. It hasn't been the worst either, but this is why I choose to have this setup instead of that. And if you do it right, you can actually use less electricity than using a mercury vapor bulb. But this is just an example that I've had experience with. And, you know, maybe your experience might be a little different. Maybe you prefer something a little different. So, you know, the choice is yours. Just as long as you're providing the UVB and the proper amount of heat for the basking area, not a problem. And speaking of basking area, brings me to the next essential. This basking area / canopy thing here, I built it out of egg crate. Very easy, very simple. I covered it in sort of this plastic mesh just to kind of make it more comfortable on her plastron, because you know, this stuff can be like, it's like pretty stiff, pretty rigid, you know. I mean, you wouldn't want to lay down on that. So I kind of just did my best to make it a little more comfortable. But I guess the only thing I can say about basking areas is unless you have something like a mata mata or I don't know, like a fly river, or maybe even an alligator snapper or something like that, that really doesn't ever really come out of the water that much, you don't really need to add the basking area. But for almost every turtle, even those turtles that they will say that they don't really need it because they don't really come out of the water that much, I would provide one anyway. My turtle here, this particular turtle, again, a Pacific Coast giant Mexican musk, I've read that, you know, in not everywhere, but some instances I've read that you don't necessarily have to provide them a basking area because they're not really going to use it, and so on and so forth. I've caught her basking up there dozens and dozens and dozens of times. She's not the most frequent basker, but she does use it. So I don't see a problem in providing it. This area, this basking area, I'm actually going to, you know, once I get the new filter, I'm going to kind of change this whole top. Basking area is going to be in the middle. It's going to have a slate tile. It's going to have ramps that go in from both sides. All this on the top is going to be new. But that's another video. And I guess that brings me to the last essential, I guess, and that's heating. Now, as you can, excuse me, as you can tell, in this tank, if you look through it, you'll notice that I do not have a heater in here. And that's only because I live in Southern Florida, and I'm pretty much not home all day most days. And the coldest it really gets in here is probably, and that's when I blast the AC, it's probably 68 degrees. And I only really blast it so I can sleep. So in the daytime, it creeps up to the upper 80s. In the summertime, it can go into the low 90s in this house. And, you know, it keeps the water temperature right where it needs to be. Right now, I took the temp of this water 2 days ago, and it was 74 degrees, which is perfect for her. But if you don't have the same circumstances of climate that I do, and you know, you don't live like in a warm area, or you know, or you do decide that you want to blast the AC all day or whatever the case may be, you're definitely going to need a heater. For most aquatic turtles, especially more the popular species that are kept, you really don't want the water temp going like below 72, 71 degrees, just to be safe. I just wouldn't recommend it. There are a couple of species like spotteds that are very cold tolerant, and you know, that's a species specific thing. But most of the time, you're definitely going to want to keep your water at least 73 degrees, I would say, to 77. You can probably bring it all the way up to 80, 82 for a hatchling. But anyway, heating is also a must. Or not necessarily heating itself, but just providing or making sure that there's a way that the water is not going to dip below 71 degrees. And yeah, that's to me, those are the 5 basic things, the 5 absolute basic necessities that you're going to need in order to be a successful turtle keeper and keep your animals happy and healthy, and you know, have them live long, healthy lives. So, that being said, until the next time, happy reptile keeping. Peace.